Let's go, baby. In case you didn't know, now you know. It's the Thursday night triple threat. TNTT, Big Mike and Airwave Mike in the house. Good evening, fellas. How you guys doing?
Good evening. Good
evening.
Good evening.
Did talk some wrestling?
Yes,
sir. I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. It's been a long day, but this is probably the one time I've been pumped up today. 5, 6 a.m. to now. It's like this is the first time I've been really pumped. So I'm here, ready to roll, man. You guys doing good though? Ready to jump into
yes,
some
sir.
All right, let's see what's going on in the comment section. Lady Alpha representing always. Thank you so much, family.
Yes,
Say, hey, y'all, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Please do. We really appreciate that. It's out there, hanging out there for you. So please jump into that as soon as you get the chance. Okay, that was supposed to be the whole link. That didn't go well. All right. All right, so what we do normally, and this is your pre-PLE wrestling show. So we talk before the event, and then we talk after the event with recaps. We're actually talking after the AEW Double or Nothing event, which is pretty awesome. And then the WWE King of the Ring and Queen of the Ring PLE that came on, and these were both last weekend, I believe it was. I'm losing track of time, so forgive me. It's been crazy in this house. Moving people out and moving stuff in. It's been wild. But we're going to recap both of those. But any initial thoughts about either or both pay-per-views before we start getting into the details? Overall, did you like both, one or the other? And kind of tell me why real quick, and we'll kind of jump into the recap after that. What were you thinking?
Well, for me on my end, Double or Nothing, I think the return of MJF, I think really set the tone for AEW. I think that was a much need for AEW, much needed for his return. Sucks, and I'm sure we'll talk about this. Sucks for Edge. And I'm being 50, I'm sure he's probably gonna be wrapping this thing up. But for me personally, I like Double or Nothing. I think the return of MJF really set the tone for AEW moving forward, and I think gave some life back, if you will, for AEW, because they were kind of on a spiral, in my opinion, spiral downward, and so I would say for me on that one, Double or Nothing. And then King and Queen of the Ring, nothing spectacular really, besides the Liv Morgan Dominic Mysterio kiss, which, hey, whatever it is, what it is on that, on what was that, Raw, I guess, but nothing out of the ordinary on that one for the most part.
Okay, Big Mike.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna feel the same way. I mean, I didn't expect her to win that night. I get spoiled for what we're gonna talk about in a little bit. That was a little bit of a shock to me. So, everybody that watched the prediction show or the pre-show that we did, I obviously thought it would happen later on down the line.
Yeah, we did
about that. So, but I did think she'd win it at some point. And it's a little quicker than they thought. I have my thoughts on why, which we'll go into later. But Double or Nothing's just, I mean, AEW, they put on pay-per-views that are just crazy. Like their week-to-week shows may be kind of bland every now and then, but then they stack up pay-per-views like it's nobody's business. I mean, all the matches there, I mean, MJF coming back, like you said, a steel cage barbed wire match. I mean, just some of the highlights of that, watching through it. And that was I'm not sure who okayed that spot that he jumped from the cage to break his ankle or his tibia, I believe it was. Yep. How do you even know? Even if he was 20, how do you just jumping 20 feet down and landing straight on your feet? It's never a good idea. But I mean, it's just whoever's okay in that spot, the producer of the show of that match, just I don't know. But it's good that they got MJF back, so they've got some more life, especially losing that big star power in Edge or Adam Copeland. But I mean, both shows were really good. I kind of what I expected from both. But looking forward to some of the storylines that kind of developed out of that. I saw watching Dynamite last night and got a little push forward for some of those storylines that kind of surprised me with what happened on Sunday. But we'll go with that. We'll go on later in the review.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I hate doing a comparison of the two of them because they attack things differently. One organization, I guess you can figure out who it is. They rely heavily on story, and then the other one relies heavily on the match, the actual wrestling. There's a blend of both in each, but one does it a lot more frequently than the other, and it gives you alternatives. I think that both events I kind of had them in the B+ range. I felt like they did well in certain spots. I was concerned about the King and the Queen of the Ring having only 5 matches, but they added that 6th one with the tag team match with Bianca and Jade. So I kind of feel like that helped spread it out a little bit. It was probably maybe one surprise in the entire card. I think we already know what that match was and the outcome that happened. But for the most part, I think me and Big Mike probably called all of the rest of the wins. We knew what was going to happen, which is either we've been watching this too long, or we're really smart, or something else is going on. I'm not sure which one it is. As far as Double Nothing goes, kind of in the same range. They're heavy on pay-per-views. They'll have like 10. I've seen 11 or 12 matches, depending on the card. I think all in with like 12 matches. So that's not including their pre-show. It was 12 matches in the actual event. So they go heavy on that, and it's hit or miss. You never know how it's going to turn out. This one was outside of the norm for me. I thought they did very well. 4 top-notch matches, which we'll talk about shortly, out of 10. The other 6 were actually really, really good. I wouldn't call them top-notch, but they were really good. So they did a fantastic job this time around with having quality matches. I didn't see any stinkers at all in any of these 10. Aside from that, then they both did a great job. We'll talk about the details going into it. We got a question out here in the comment section. How did you guys grade the WWE King and Queen of the Ring event and the AEW Double or Nothing event? You can drop your comments inside there whenever you get a chance, and we'll catch your grades, see what you think, see what you liked and what you didn't like. And if you got details, go into them. Drop it into the comments. We'll definitely talk about some of those that you put out there, and we'll get into the recap. Let's start with the King and the Queen of the Ring pay-per-view. Which one of you guys want to go ahead and jump us off there?
Go ahead, Mike.
I will say, I think, I thought the Logan Paul and Cody Rhodes match was pretty, it was actually better than I thought it was going to be, just strictly because, we go, Logan Paul is this up-and-coming star, whether or not you like him or you don't like him. I'm not a huge fan of his, never will be, but he definitely, definitely stole a show in some aspect, even though the brass knuckles came out to play once again. But what caught me on this one, I think, is we're going to start seeing the demise and the dismissal of the Alpha Academy, and I don't know about you guys, but does Chad Gable kind of give you the feel of the new Kurt Angle of 2024?
Sure is trying.
Yeah, he's really starting to really give me that Kurt Angle feel going. But I think we're starting to see the demise and the fall apart of Alpha Omega, Alpha Academy. Of course, with Otis and obviously, I don't know. I would say probably that Liv Morgan winning. Liv Morgan. Of course, that match was pretty well with Becky, but I'm more interested of how Chad is more like Kurt Angle. But overall, I mean, the pay-per-view, I would say, high B, I think, in my opinion. Nothing spectacular, but at the end of the day, storylines are kind of getting better. And I think that we're seeing some, stars in the making with Jade Cargill, and I think Bianca Belair is a really phenomenal tag team duo in itself. So
I like it, man.
Yeah, no, I absolutely do. Yeah, absolutely.
That's what scares me about this. Where's your name?
Yep.
The team doesn't have a name. You know what happens next, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm like, don't do that. Get a name. This is working. Keep working it. But go ahead, man. Keep going, Mike.
No, you're good. No, I mean, I thought, when you look at it, and not a lot of people, when it comes to pregame shows or pre-shows or whatever, I thought the WWE really did a, when you look at it, and you probably would say really good, but, I know a lot of intake from what I read through comments, the fact that WWE did a 2-hour countdown show for a pay-per-view that really, I don't know if anybody really paid that much attention to besides us, wrestling fans. But I think overall it's just a pay-per-view that maybe like you guys, how you start off with Big Mike and yourself knocking it out of the park, getting the predictions right. Was it predictable? I would say so, but I still think that the pay-per-view overall was a pretty decent one. And I think WWE did pretty well, but where we headed down to a SummerSlam coming up shortly, so we'll see what happens from there. But overall, I think the Jade Cargill Bianca Belair tag team matchup was a pretty phenomenal one as well to join the list, if you might add.
They're leading the Clash of the Castle next, and that's kind of what some of this was about. They're kind of getting some of the little stories built up, especially the Rhea Ripley one. I'm not sure she's going to be back by then, but if she is, then what's happened there makes a lot more sense. If she's coming back by Clash of the Castle, if she's not, and we're talking SummerSlam, it's going to be a slow burn between now and SummerSlam for a potential Ripley Morgan match, which is like so weird to me. I'm like, so we're going to see Ripley as a face now? This is going to be, are you still going to be a face on Judgment Day? I'm trying to figure out what's getting ready to happen. I'm not, I feel like the story's not quite coming together just yet. I'm like,
but even in the Judgment Day, Ripley has kind of been more of a tweener than a heel, because she was still getting cheered. They were still chanting "Mommy" all the time. She was in the heel group of Judgment Day. But and that's one of the reasons that Dom is so good, is he's kind of that heater to kind of draw heat to her. Because everybody still cheered her. She's still one of the most popular wrestlers on the roster. And I don't think she'll be back until at least SummerSlam. Just judging by what I've read, I think that they pulled the trigger more because of the Becky Lynch situation, where her contract is up and she wants to take some time off for a while. So we may not see her, maybe till Royal Rumble if she decides to take an extended break. I know her contract ends this week, I believe. So by Friday or Saturday, she'll be a free agent. She wants to spend some time at home. Seth should be coming back soon, so somebody's going to be able to take care of the daughter like they like. That may be part of the reason as well. So, but overall, I agree. I give the pay-per-view a B+. I think it would have been better if the finish to the Gunther Randy Orton, which I still don't know if that was planned or not, because they did such a good job kind of covering up after the fact with Triple H coming back saying, look, the referee decision's final, all that. They made it seem more like it was planned. So even if it wasn't, even if it was a botch, then they made it, they covered it up really well. Now you're going to get probably a Gunther Orton match, a rematch at Clash, which who doesn't want to see that again? Because that was a really good match up to that point. And then you've got Gunther in Europe, who's going to get cheered out of the building because they're going to go crazy for him because he was so popular over there before he came to WWE. But it's hard to compare. I heard you compare to AEW, especially on one of what they call the B pay-per-views, because there is only 5 matches. And AEW builds up. That's why they only have, 6, maybe 7 pay-per-views a year, as opposed to the 12 that, WWE has. So it's harder, or I won't say harder, it's easier, I guess, would be the best way for WWE to spread that out more, where you're not having to put 10 matches on the card. Some of the ones you may have wanted to do at King and Queen of the Ring, you push back to Clash and let it build a little bit more, where AEW piles everything up, rightfully so, because they don't want to waste a lot of other pay-per-views like other companies do. So it's kind of just a difference, but I would agree with you. Kind of both B+ shows. Specifically King and Queen of the Ring. I think my favorite match. Thank you for pulling the card up there so I can remember it.
That's for all of us. Trust me.
The triple threat match, like you were talking about Chad Gable, he's one of my favorites right now. He does kind of give you kind of Kurt Angle Jr. vibes, I guess would be the best way to put it.
Don't mess with my goat, boy. You better say that right.
So, and that's why I put the junior. Again, my goat too, one of the greatest. But Chad Gable is kind of like a mini version of that. And so, I mean, he's got the pedigree. He had the group just like Kurt Angle had the group with Shelton Benjamin and Charlie Haas. So he had his little group that they disbanded as well. So, it's kind of following the same path as he goes heel. He's got the charisma to be a heel. I think he could be a really funny heel, just like Kurt Angle was, because he doesn't take himself too seriously. So I think developing that. But that was really my favorite match of the night, just them three going through it. And that just kind of, I like the differences between, having one of the bigger people like Bronson Reed and then two of the smaller guys, how they work together, especially somebody like Chad who's so strong. I mean, that combo German suplex where he had, Reed and Sami Zayn and pulls him up into the German suplex was just crazy. The power it takes to do that is mind-blowing, to be able to just get them both up and get them through like that. And I mean, you look at Nia and Lyra, the finish to that was a little bit more creative than most Nia matches. The way they did the splash at the end, instead of her just setting up, going to the second rope and then jumping down, the peril that she was in, trying to pull her down, and just the way it looked like it killed Lyra, to be completely honest. I liked the finish was a little bit different on that. And I mean, who's not talking about Logan Paul? Everybody hates the guy, but I mean, that shot of the frog splash with the drone going around 360 around him, that one shot of the pay-per-view almost made the pay-per-view. Just that production note right there just made it feel bigger than life. And then you hear 3-4 days later, there's a tweet out that says that was his idea. He's the one that pitched that to Triple H to have that camera shot. He wanted to do it a year ago, but instead they did the cell phone with Roman Reigns last year, coming off the ring post, kind of the same spot, just different camera angle. The he's got an eye for the business. Like him or not, he's
absolutely
big.
And he's definitely physically talented too, man. It's hard for me to say this because I don't know how I feel about them in the boxing arena. I don't really care for what I see with that. But I mean, as a wrestling aficionado, like we all three of us are, you got to appreciate his skills. And you got to appreciate how he handles himself, how quick he's catching the business. And it was like he went to school. He wasn't trained by blank, blank, blank. He picked this up. I don't even know how he did that or where he did that. But he picked it up so well, and he's moving so quickly. I mean, they put the man in a title match against somebody that's supposed to be bulletproof. You knew he wasn't going to win, but they put him in a title match with somebody who's bulletproof. That says a lot about what they think about him and his trajectory going forward as a title holder, which he still is, but as a top name, and he's not one of them guys is like, no offense, not like the Rock used to be, where he kind of shows up maybe once every 4 to 6 months. Logan Paul showed up a lot more often than that. He's actually around. He's not defending the title a lot, but he's around almost on an almost weekly basis. You know what I'm saying? And he's putting in work. He's moving the product forward. You can't be mad at that part. If you don't like his attitude and you don't like him as a person, that's fine. Point taken. But you can't be mad at the skill set in the ring, man. He's doing fantastic. I gotta give him his props, man.
And here's the thing. People have talked about differences between the Attitude Era and all that and today. And I'll tell you one thing that I think this era does, and it's not just Logan Paul. I'll have a couple other examples. Celebrities that the company brings in is a million times better than when they used to bring people in. You don't have your Drew Carey's, your Donald Trumps, your people like that who just want to kind of get their face on TV. Yes, I realize that's part of it. But you've got people like Logan Paul, Pat McAfee, Bad Bunny, even when Ronda Rousey came in, people that love wrestling and love what this sport is, that want to take it seriously and want to actually get into it. Like watching last year, watching Bad Bunny do what he did for a guy that's on a world tour at the same time. Nobody could you imagine that with anybody else? But he loves the business. That's where they look for people who love what this business is, instead of just going, hey, let's get Hugh Jackman to come out, which they did in the Attitude Era. He came out just to promote a movie and stand in the ring. That's not the way this works anymore. You've got your few every now and then, like even on NXT when Sexy Red, who I'm not that familiar with. I know she's a big rap star now and everything like that, even though kind of a younger generation for me. But I mean,
I can't say anything here.
She's getting involved behind the scenes. She loves the product. She wanted to do this. It's not that they said, hey, I want you guys to come and make a special guest spot. She's bringing all her followers in because she loves the business. She loves what they do. And that just makes any guest appearance like that so much better. And you've got 2 signees now from it. McAfee is a commentator and an occasional wrestler. And then now Logan Paul, who is not even a part-timer anymore. He's got a full-time deal. Yeah, he doesn't do it as much because he's got other things going on. But he's on a full-time contract for WWE. He's a WWE superstar through and through.
Shout out to my co-host and my partner, my man, my boy. Bo is in the house. Thank you, brother, for joining us.
What's up, Bo?
Love and appreciate you, man. Obviously, you're getting love from the fam out here. Lady Alpha's already on top of that. I'll give a quick synopsis of this PLE. Then I'm going to blow the whole thing up with a question. All right, so get ready. We didn't talk about the question. We didn't discuss it, so you guys ain't gonna be ready for it. So, which makes this fun. But as far as the whole PLE, I was concerned about the amount of matches. I always am, because I think more matches is better than 3 and 4 long matches drug out, and then in between stuff, try to fill the time gap. I was shocked by the Liv Morgan move. I thought that they were going to do I think me and Big Mike talked about it, a Becky and Lyra in the Clash of the Castle. It can happen now. So that one's dead in the water for whatever the reason is. So it's like now we're looking at Dom as a focal point, and wondering, can Dom make it on his own? Because that could be the question that he's faced with based on how this thing is going on. My personal opinion, I think he's been protected by the Judgment Day. They need to continue a little while longer. I don't think he's ready to go on his own, but they could see it differently, and they could be running with him as a solo artist, so to speak. But love everything was going on, the Gunther and Orton deal, big fight feel. This pay-per-view needed it, so that was really good to have that there. I mean, overall, we knew that Lyra was going to be the queen and Gunther was going to be the king, so it wasn't really a big shock there. The Cody and Logan stuff was really good. I think I'm challenged with a couple of things. We talked about it last week. I'm gonna get into it a little bit now, and you guys can chime in. I think anyway, you didn't get a chance to hear about it. But I was actually concerned about the reigns of Sami and Cody. Now, with Sami, it's different because I know that he's a master at getting the people involved, the energy, and feeding off of that in his matches. We could see him do that for quite a while, at least the past year and a half, almost 2 years now, with the Bloodline and with KO and all the scenarios that he was in storyline wise. But whenever you knock out somebody who has a super long historic reign like Gunther did, I forgot how long it was, but I know Roman's was 1,316 days. I think it was. That's 3.5 years for perspective. And Cody knocked him off, and then Gunther had it wasn't as long, but it was definitely almost 2 years, at least a year and a half. And Sami knocked him off. It's like, and me and Mike, I think Mike said it. I don't want to misquote you, Big Mike, but I think you said that you agree that you don't want to see another long reign after that. And I felt the same way about it. I'm like, I don't want to see another 3.5 year reign. The IWC was on fire because Roman was like, I know he was cheating to win everything most of the time. The Bloodline was assisting in his victories, but 3.5 years is so long, and he wasn't even wrestling that much. I think he wrestled like maybe 3 times a year or something to that effect. I think he wrestled at Slam and he wrestled at WrestleMania, and I think that might have been it normally. it's like, that's not, I know you got the health issues. I get that. But it's like, you want to see a long reign after that. So for me, I'm like, I'm already tired of seeing Sami already with the belt. I'm already there already. Now that part ain't gonna make nobody mad, but the next part probably gonna take a lot of folks off, but I can't help it. This is just where I'm at. I don't think Cody should be bulletproof in this situation. I like what he did. I like that he, quote unquote, finished the story. There's a lot of personal ties, some real life stuff in there attached that made it really meaningful with Dusty and the whole polka dot deal and Vince McMahon and the whole 9 yards. All the history is right there. You can find it anywhere. You can find it. It's easy to find it. But he shouldn't be bulletproof. I just don't feel that part. You guys agree with that part, that he shouldn't be bulletproof right now? Do you think he should be for a certain amount of time or indefinitely? How do you feel about that?
Well, on my end, I'm not saying I'm a Roman fan, but the fact of the matter is, I don't think Cody fits the script at all when it comes to having the championship belt. I'm not saying that Roman. I think Roman completely, obviously health issues came back up. I know, and of course I knew, reports way before Mania 40 was that he was wanting to spend more time with the family. I completely get that. I'm sure in his business he rarely sees him, even though he was off and on here and there everywhere else, but. Cody, when I look at Cody, and just even like right now on the screen, I look at Cody, I don't see this being a long reign title holder for Cody. I don't know if he's gonna, I'm not gonna sit there and say he's gonna lose that slam. He may carry a year and lose it next year in WrestleMania 41. Now who is it? I don't know. Could we see a Jey Uso come up? Could we see a Gunther that may come up? Just two people off the top of my head. That one's hard to see who that would be, but I just do not see Cody. And I don't think the WWE is going to go that long route again with a 2.5, 3 year plus title reign. And especially I don't see the World Heavyweight Championship. That Damian Priest, that's another one. I don't see that being a very long tenure. Damian Priest is that's an interesting fit anyway. But Cody, to answer your question, Mr. U is I don't see him being a long term, and I really hope we don't see that again. They got a lot of talent. Braun Breaker, I think, is phenomenal coming up. The bloodline, I don't know where they're going with that. That kind of needs to calm down one way or another. That's kind of getting old. But I like Tonga though. It's funny though how they use Solo as non-talking. Now he can talk all the time. It's amazing. But anyway, no, Cody. I don't see him being a year. If he does, he makes it to 41, and that's probably how it's going to end. But no, I think he loses before 41. I don't see him being a long reign champion at all.
All right, Big Mike, what do you think, brother?
Yeah, I mean, so there are two types of wrestlers, especially in the main event scene. There are wrestlers who do really well as a champion, like a Roman Reigns. In other words, almost like a Rhea Ripley, like a Charlotte Flair. Almost like a Seth Rollins, even when he had the belt. Then there are wrestlers. And I think you have a lot of champions now, which you have to at some point. There are wrestlers who are better as contenders. Mm-hmm. Cody Rhodes fits better when he is chasing a title, when he is trying to reach that goal. Liv Morgan's kind of the same way. Everybody, because you remember Liv Morgan's last reign, once she got the belt, the crowd kind of turned on her and went sour. Everybody wants to see, somebody like Cody Rhodes build up to build that next challenger. And I think that's what we're doing. I don't know if it'll happen at SummerSlam, but I think at some point down the line, Gunther beats him. Whether that's at SummerSlam, since he's got the guaranteed, wrong show. Whether it's, Randy Orton at SummerSlam, which I think is what they're building to, because Gunther's on Raw. That can't happen there. But I mean, even as that, there's nobody on SmackDown right now who could take that championship.
No. Mm-hmm.
So you've got to be able to build somebody up. So I think it'll be longer than say, SummerSlam or something like that. But I don't think it'll have it by WrestleMania next year. I don't know if somebody costs him and they try to further into the storyline. or something like that. But I don't see it being that long of a reign. Plus, I mean, you like we said last week, you just came off of, Roman being 1,300 something days, Gunther being the longest IC champion ever. Rhea Ripley had her belt for over a year until she had to give it up, and she probably would still have it if it wasn't for that. You've got Logan Paul, who has now had his belt since the other Saudi show. So 2024 hasn't seen a lot of title changes when you really get down to it, other than Sami and Cody in ring championship changes. There hasn't been a ton, and now you've got Liv on Saturday. But after having those long reigns, which it might be a better question for another show of why they did those long title reigns. I think there's a specific reason why they did those. But I mean, I don't see a lot of long title reigns coming. I don't see Bayley's title run being that long. I think they're going to get Bianca or Jade at some point to go for that. You've got a couple other storylines in woven in between that, but I don't think, and this goes past Cody, I don't think any champion may be the same champion come WrestleMania next year that is champion today. So no, I don't see a very long title reign for him or really anybody else for that matter.
All right, I'm going to give you guys a little homework assignment, but you got to do it right now.
Sweet.
You said there's nobody on SmackDown. I'm like, are you sure? Look at the SmackDown roster. I want to move on to Double or Nothing because we got a half an hour left, so I want to go ahead and move on to that. But we're going to come back to this before this show is over with. There's nobody on SmackDown that can take Cody's spot. I want y'all to look a little bit deeper, all right? I don't want to tell you what to do here, but just look a little bit deeper. I think there's at least a couple of viable names that work in this situation. Just think about it, all right? Just think about it. Let's go ahead and jump into AEW because there's so many matches. I don't know how we're going to get through like 12 matches. I don't know how we're going to make that work. It's probably impossible, but we're going to go ahead and play with it. But like I was saying, from the outset, you got two of these matches were in the pre-show, so we won't have to touch those per se. But there were 4 super strong matches that I thought were really top-notch. They were well done. They were clean. They were entertaining. The world title match with Swerve and Christian Cage, that was right up there. All the typical heel stuff that you would expect from Cage with his hierarchy working, but at ringside, that's what you want. People were heart sick watching stuff happen over there. It's like we knew Swerve wasn't going to lose the title, but it was so funny to see it all play out. The TBS title match with Mercedes Moné and Willow Nightingale, really strong, man. That was one of the best matches on the card. Kudos and shout outs to them, man. That was really, really good. All right, Roger's in the house. Good evening, sir.
Yes,
Thanks for joining us, Roger. Man, go ahead.
What's up,
a lot of in the comment section. If you don't mind, go ahead and jump on those wherever you see fit to do so. Love to hear your thoughts on those comments or those questions in there and get your comments on those. Another one was, this is probably the one that they considered the match of the night. You can tell me how you feel about that one, but the Adam Copeland Malachi Black match for the TNT title. Everybody been considered the match of the night, not because of the barbed wire part, not because of who showed up in the middle of the ring. When I hear that theme music, I know it's gory and stuff. When I hear that theme music, I geek out, man, because that's one of the best interest music I ever heard in my life, and it still is in my top 10 interest music wise. Awesome. All right, and the 4th match I was thinking about was the Strong and Ospreay match. I heard his promo after he caught that beat down. I said, they putting the belt on this boy. I knew it before I read anything. I knew he was getting the title. I just knew it. That's exactly what happened. All right, Herb is in the house. 1.5 of the Herb and Raj podcast. Of course, you can find these guys on their YouTube channel every Tuesday evening, 8 a.m. Sorry, I get it wrong every time. 8 p.m. EST.
What's up,
Herb?
Always
rolling, man. These guys are super knowledgeable on football, but they love college football. So when they get into it, it's something to behold, man. So thanks for joining us, Herb. Love you, brother. And okay, well, Herb said himself, he's the better half in this situation. Heard that. These guys go back and forth like nobody's business. But those are my 4 strongest matches. I think they were top notch. The other 6 were really good. They weren't bad. These are my 4 top notch matches. I went ahead. I'm kind of leaning on a B+ grade for this. I want to do more, but I don't know. I'm kind of over some of the other stuff that's going on the card. So I'm kind of like, that was kind of like filler for me. So yeah. But what were your thoughts about Double or Nothing? Any matches that jumped out at you that you thought were just mind-blowing, or you saw a great story there? What were you thinking, guys?
So, I mean, I kind of agree with you about the death matches. One of the matches that did disappoint that I talked about that I was most intrigued going into was the Toni Storm Serena Deeb match. You know, storyline-wise and story-wise, I think that was a really good match, how that played out. You know, I always thought Toni was going to win just because I don't think they're going to put a belt on Serena Deeb. But I mean, like I said, her character work in that story for that match, you know, the again clash of styles with Serena Deeb being the technician and everything like that, and then Toni Storm being the kind of bigger than life personality, that just difference in personality in the match, I think really goes well. I mean, I've already talked about the Copeland, the Copeland and Black match. I mean, that's, you know, even the twists and turns in that, you know, I guess being a WWE guy, I like the twists and turns in the story. You know, I love a good wrestling match too, but part of what sells it is, to me, is the story. You know, when you have the House of Black come out and they stand beside Malachi, then go to Adam Copeland like they're going to be on his side for that second, and you're like, oh wow, is this really about to happen? Did he really turn them? Is this going to be the new Brood? You know, talking about the Gangrel coming back. I know that happened a little after, but is this going to be his new group? And then they just start pummeling him. So I mean, I really like the way they did that. You know, pretty much everything else, kind of like we said on the other one, a lot of it was predictable. I thought they would give Team AEW a win instead of the Elite on the Anarchy match, so that kind of surprised me. I thought they would let them go home happy, that kind of thing. But I mean, I see you have to further that storyline as well. If the Elite lose their first match, you know, going into this new whole where the ball storyline, where does it go from there? And I said earlier I would probably give it a B+ as far as an overall pay-per-view. I'm actually going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to drop that down to a B, only because of what happens afterwards at Dynamite. You know, Copeland getting hurt, you know, with that one spot, him being out, so he's automatically got to vacate that title. So that story can't go anywhere now from that point. You know, you don't get the Brood coming back, because I'm sure Gangrel is probably going to get booked on a few other shows going forward just to have somebody in this corner, you know, to continue going against Black if that's what they wanted to do. You know, you've got Ospreay, who just won the international title. You know, and instead of making that the premier title that you can, well, he just won the 4-way to challenge for the AEW championship now. So you're kind of combining that. So again, that kind of stunts that storyline to me as well, instead of just letting that build up as the international title being, you're kind of like the Intercontinental title for WWE, the workhorse championship. Will Ospreay can do that with his work rate. You know, he can be that guy and have matches with people like Pac and, you know, even Roddy Strong going again. Roddy Strong's a really good technician. He's a really good work rate. You know, you've got all that going into it. But just it seems like they've kind of stunted what little bit of growth they had out of the pay-per-view on Dynamite. And that's why I would drop it down to a B.
I'm not sure when I saw Ospreay win that match, allowed him to qualify for a world title shot, I didn't understand it. I'm like, are we trying to make him out to be a triple crown? I mean, is that what we're doing? I mean, because, and I think this is to a larger point that I don't know if we have time to talk about it today, but I saw some stuff on social media about AEW and just, you know, are they going in the right direction? And I'm like, they were presented the whole idea of this, and the Young Bucks, they all play a part in this, to be the alternative, I guess, to the big mega monster that we know to be the WWE. Yep. But it's like, you already overextended yourself already. If you look at their numbers every week for all of their shows, I'm talking about Dynamite, Rampage, and Collision, they're hovering somewhere between 350,000 to maybe 800 and some odd thousand viewers per episode. Usually Dynamite is usually the highest, and then it usually falls somewhere around maybe I forgot which one. I think it's a neck and neck with Rampage and Collision. But they obviously don't have enough food for everybody. That's the whole point of what I'm trying to say here. They don't have enough food to go around for everybody. They don't have enough opportunity. They grab people who are discontented with their previous companies.
Yep.
Which is not dumb. It's I guess it's smart, but you got to be able to use them. How many guys came over and didn't really get used well or to their fullest extent? Rusev, anybody? I mean, I can go on and name all kind of names. And it's
I've got 5 off the top of my head just right now.
Yeah, I mean, Rusev come to mind, or Miro, as he's known now. I mean, that man, that dude, he could have.
Yep.
If you booked him right, he could have done anything. Anything. I mean, he got it like that, and he hasn't been used right. I know there's some injuries going on, but dude, this is well before that. You had a chance to do some things, you haven't done it, and the list goes on and on. There's not enough food on the table for all of these mouths to feed. It's like you can see it now. So now you're going to take a guy that I think Ospreay is one of the best wrestlers in the world without question. I'm not going to even argue that part. I can't. Where you want to put him at is up to you, but he's one of the best wrestlers in the world, flat out. You're going to put 2 titles on him? All this talent out here in that same organization, you can put up. Why are we doing this? Why you even give him a shot? You angling to put that belt on him. And it's like, why are we doing that? It's not. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me at all. You got all these guys out here that they've been there for a while, and even haven't even got a sniff of a world title shot.
Well, what's worse?
Yep.
What's worse is what if they don't? What if Swerve beats him? Then you've got your 2 highest, your highest rising stars in Swerve Strickland and Will Ospreay. Who's going to lose that match? Because it doesn't matter which one. One of them is
bad either way.
Yeah, you booked yourself, as we'd like to say a long time. They've booked themselves into a corner at this point.
I don't know where they go. It'd be horrible if he loses.
Yeah, I mean, because then you're in that same situation.
Yeah, this is like what? Even if they have interference, you still put him in a spot where this can continue to go on for a while because you're going to feel slighted. He gonna want another shot. It's like there's people ahead of him that I think should probably can name 5 sitting here right now without even trying. They deserve a shot at that Swerve title before Ospreay does. It almost reminds me of the Intercontinental title in WWE, right? That title, that's what it used to be anyway. It used to be the springboard to a world title shot. That's how it used to be. This title, to me, is probably the same thing, even though Orange Cassidy, I don't recall him even having a world title opportunity. I don't think
he's had one yet.
Yeah, but that's what that title was supposed to do. At least that's what I understood. You know what I'm saying? And now you got Ospreay, who just got a title like 2 seconds ago. And he gets entered into a tournament and wins it.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, to me,
guys in the back must feel like crap.
See, to me, it would have been a lot better for Moxley to lose the. I mean, why are you worried about Moxley having the IWGP title? Yeah, I realize that brings other eyes on your product, but that's not even your promotion, man.
No.
Let him give that title to somebody in IWGP, and then let him go after Swerve. Could you imagine Swerve Strickland and John Moxley at Wembley for the title? That's intrigue right there. I mean, what's going to happen there? And then you have Ospreay face somebody like a Pac, in Wembley, the local guy. But they're 2 local guys. I keep forgetting Ospreay's from that area too. I mean, you got 2 local guys going for the national championship. It would blow the roof off, especially with their work rate. I don't get it. I don't understand. And look, these guys have run promotions for a reason. They're a lot smarter than I am, but I don't get it.
I feel like, I made a comment about too many mouths to feed, and I really meant that. I'm not going to backtrack off it whatsoever. I also feel like this is turning into a version of WWE that most people don't like.
Yep.
Where their creators start to suffer because they got so many people to deal with, and their writing starts to get bland. when the WWE started expanding and started having all these different shows. I mean Raw and SmackDown. I mean all the other shows they were having too.
Mm-hmm.
They created started to suffer, and it was some real bad stuff that was coming through there on Monday night for 3 hours. People were complaining about that thing. It wasn't just, but I think it was just last year. People were complaining about how much was the creative was just stinking up the joint. And now I'm starting to see over there in AEW, it's like it's not. I'm starting to see some of the same trends. The creative is not. It's not looking good. I'm saying you got some people to write for, and it's like it's starting to slip. And even the commentators can't even get it together. They were having some problems this past week, which is Wednesday at Dynamite. They couldn't even remember stuff. They were calling the wrong people's names and whatnot. It was a nightmare. I'm like, these guys are seasoned veterans, and you can tell that they were not on their best game, or they were getting bad information. Unacceptable. Something's wrong. Something's wrong back there over there where they are. Something's not right coming from the top.
You had the report come out this week that Tony Khan basically pulled a Vince McMahon and changed the last 2 shows, changed them at the last second. Like there were people that have showed up at the building thinking they were supposed to work that night. And they're like, no, we don't have anything for you. And then they're calling in people last minute who weren't booked on the show 2 days prior that, oh, hey, I need you here. You're on the show now. So, I mean, I don't know if it's just a short-term thing or if it's a once or twice kind of thing, but I saw that report the other day that the last few shows he's been changing everything on the fly at the last second. And, I mean, that could be some of the reason why you've seen a lot of that, disjointedness, especially in the commentary and all that, because if you've been practicing and rehearsing one person in a match, now, oh, wait, last minute, we're going to put somebody else there for whatever reason, then, I mean, that throws off your whole game. Even as a commentator, you got to remember all this stuff. Yeah, you got notes, but that just, it throws off your game.
Well, it all starts with Tony Khan is the biggest issue. And I know, I read an article earlier today, that Tony Khan wants to potentially expand, I think it's Dynamite, to 3 hours, which, I mean, that's fine if you really want to, but the fact of the matter is you got to fix what is in front of you first before you can even remotely, expand. But, I don't know. If I'm Tony Khan, you've got to find somebody that can do this creating thing and really change the direction of AEW. I'm glad that MJF is back. I'm glad he's hyped up. He says he's loyal and this, that, and something else, and that's cool. That's cool, but you got to build these storylines and I'm gonna be honest with you, they got to eliminate some of these belts though too. They got way too many.
Eliminate them. He's talking about adding more.
Oh my God.
He talked about adding a mixed tag and a women's tag belt.
This is the same thing that
just this past week.
Interesting.
WWE started that same thing, and look where we at right now. The WWE Speed Champion. I'm like, you kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
This is what we're doing. Wow, it's a hot mess. Even with the storyline with the for the TBS Championship, it was. You can tell the creative is not quite sure where to go. About 3 weeks ago, Mercedes Moné was in an interview and she got attacked. The lights went out and she got attacked by somebody. Now, I know the right person that should have been the attacker. I can tell you that sitting here right now, the best idea for it. It made sense what they were trying to do storyline-wise, but is that what they did? No. On Dynamite, they revealed that it was Sky Blue. I'm like, the girl ain't wrestling like a month. You're gonna make
I don't know why you don't make that Chris Statlander since you turned her heel anyway.
Yep. Because that would have made too much sense. That's why.
Yeah.
You should get some random person in there that had a match with her that they had to have, I guess, and she got beat down in minutes. It was like creators have no idea what to do next. They seem to be confused. They seem to be discombobulated, and it's like it's coming through. And it's like this is not good. So I don't know. There's no effect on the pay-per-view itself. I thought it was a really good one. I like the Mox and the Kester one. I thought it was going to be really good, and it was. It turned out really well. Even the Orange Cassidy and Trent Beretta, that's like, okay. I was surprised by the outcome of the, not the match, but the aftermath on Dynamite last night, where Beretta joining the Don Callis family. I'm like, really? Wow. You need some kind of affiliation, but I was surprised by that particular one. So, I mean, but like I said, there's some signs, there's some cracks in the foundation when it comes to creative. So I'm not quite sure what's going on there. But what do you guys' thoughts beyond that? Anything else on the pay-per-view that you thought was decent? And then we'll come back to your homework question.
Well, I thought, at the end of the day, I think, Adam Copeland, the match with Malachi Black was phenomenal. I know, unfortunately, ended horrible for Adam. And, my inner WWE old school attitude era days with Gangrel, I like that, even though Gangrel probably couldn't fight a chicken at this point now. But I don't
want to see that anyways.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know. that was a phenomenal, just all out war match with that one. I think that one was one of my best ones. And Mercedes Moné is money, and we'll go with that. But I would say probably again B plus. But they're trying to trend in the right direction, but at the same time, there's still some, like you said, there's still some cracks that they got feeling. But it was overall, it was a pretty good pay-per-view though. I ain't gonna lie.
I don't like what's going on there. Big Mike, any other further thoughts?
No, I mean, I guess I kind of laid it all out. I mean, and again, I hate to say that. To me, it takes away from the pay-per-view because the matches on the pay-per-view are really good. But just at some point, this is it's a TV show, and you got to be able to go somewhere with it. And it just doesn't. It's like, hey, okay, would this happen? So now let's throw it all away and try something else. So to me, again, that just takes away a little bit of the value of the pay-per-view. And that has nothing to do with the performers because the performers gave A games, through and through. I don't remember, seeing any bad matches from, when I rewatched it. There were no bad matches at all and that's really on either pay-per-view. I don't think there were any bad matches all weekend. But I mean, just the difference, and I hate to compare it because I know everybody does it. After King and Queen of the Ring, there's a clear line. I say clear. There's a line that you can follow to kind of think where you're going next with WWE. That may swerve you a little bit, but you can kind of look and see kind of that light towards the end of the tunnel. And then AEW after the pay-per-view, you don't even know which end of the tunnel you're looking at. You don't know which way you're going. So, I mean, and that's kind of the difference in the two pay-per-views, which is why I would have to go, kind of why I differentiated a little bit a B plus and a B. Because while the performers kicked it, knocked it out of the park, the future just kind of stunts it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So Herb jumped in. If we were a tag team, we'd be Superstar Herb and the other guy. Oh, your brother's gonna get you, man. Your brother's gonna get you. Yeah. All right. So let's jump into your homework before we close our show up for today. So after taking some time to think about it, I'm not sure if you guys wrote any notes down or anything. You didn't have to, but you really feel as though there's nobody on this entire SmackDown roster that's worthy to take the title from Cody. Have you elevated him that high? Or are you saying that there is a lack of talent? I got to see your guys' thoughts because I'm missing something in all of this. Help me out.
So to me, I don't think that it's a lack of talent, and nor have I built up Cody that high. I just don't think there's a storyline that puts somebody at that level right now. I think where the stories are, I mean, you've got great performers. You got Bobby Lashley, you got AJ Styles, you got Kevin Owens, who have all been former champions. You've got LA Knight, who's coming up, who's huge. I'm just kind of going through it. There's a lot of other guys, Randy Orton. There are a lot of guys that can contend, but nowhere in the story would it make sense for them to just come through all of a sudden and dethrone him. Some of that needs to be built up in order for it to make sense for them to beat a champion that spent 2 years trying to get his belt, if that makes sense. Now, that's not to say come Royal Rumble or WrestleMania, one of these guys can't build themselves to be that. But from now until, say, SummerSlam, I just don't see it. I think Randy's the next challenger because, one, they have history because of how they came up. Cody's talked a lot of times about Randy being one of his heroes, kind of taking him under his wing. So they've got that. You've got the whole King of the Ring fiasco. So I think they're going to build towards that probably at SummerSlam. But I don't see anywhere in the story where Randy's going to beat him. I mean, Randy's had, 5-6 matches since he's come back. I don't think that they built him up to that. I could be wrong. But I just don't see anybody to that level yet. that's ready to dethrone him.
All right, you're ready.
I definitely agree with Randy. What concerns me with Randy, I agree with what Mike said with Randy. That got the fact to get history and took him on his wing, so on. What concerns me with Randy is you can tell he's hurting after every match. I think a lot of that lower back pain that he keeps on putting him down, I think that's legit. I don't think that's a part of the show. I think he's legit hurting, and probably at times he's probably questioning why he's doing this again. But there's not a storyline right now that fits it. If you really want to mold something, I'm not saying doing it under the bloodline things. Do you do like a Tomatonga type of thing eventually down the road? I don't really know. Solo, he can't win a match by himself with his life depending on it right now. LA Knight, I'm a Braun Breaker. I know he's on Raw, so that would have to change some things down the road. But right now, the storyline is not probably many besides Randy. But, Triple H has done a phenomenal job with creating these things. So, maybe we get something different with Tonga. But right now, I would say if I had to probably give you my top 3 guys that eventually down the road that makes sense, Randy, I think being one just makes perfect sense right now. I don't see much of a Kevin Owens thing. I don't know where he fits right now in the picture anyway. LA Knight, you always keep talking about that the rising star, superstar, but he's they haven't used him as much. But I'm going to give you one name to kind of keep an eye on. It probably won't be from another year or two. I don't see that being a big title change on that point. But Carmelo Hayes, I think down the road is going to get a shot. I just don't know when. But I wouldn't, he's a name, in my opinion, that can kind of keep an eye on. Young Buck one. But right now, Randy, LA Knight would be my top 2. But right now, there's just, like Big Mike says, I'm 100%. There's just not a storyline that we physically see from our side right now. Now, in side creation, they may have this whole thing written up.
Damn. Come on, man.
Let me retract. So there's one name. As you were talking, I was scrolling through. Sorry, I went in and I was going through the roster. There's one name who is and I'm not gonna say he's ready to beat Cody yet. But he's a wild card, and that's Andrade. Just came from AEW. He was a good name to come. He hasn't really had any losses. They're starting to build him up. I think they had a promo for him last week, kind of a vignette style. He's a really good worker. I think they could build him into kind of that next challenger beyond maybe Randy beyond SummerSlam. But I think he would be one to watch just because he doesn't have the backstory. You mentioned Carmelo Hayes. Yeah, that Carmelo Hayes is definitely a rising star. Cody Rhodes just beat him a couple weeks ago on his first night. So that kind of stunts that a little bit. He needs to work his way back up. But you don't have Andrade with that big loss or anything that you can see with almost anybody else on the card to where they could put him in vignettes and kind of make it to where he could be a viable challenger. Whether he beats him or not, who knows? But I think that's one name to look forward to.
All right. So I got all the guys we got. I even have some other names. I got Grayson Waller on here. I think somebody already said Bobby Lashley. I got Austin Theory on here, and I got Montez Ford on here too. I'll talk about the Braun Breaker part first, and then we'll come back to these. There's a possibility, even though the draft was already over with, that he can be there can be a gentleman's agreement between Adam Pearce and Nick Aldis. Say this guy's running roughshod over here. We can't handle this situation. He can try to pull us stunt. He can end up going to SmackDown and tearing it up and going after the title right off the top. I think that would make some sense. I think I would actually like that if that would happen. You won't have to have a big story. Just attacks almost Brock Lesnar-ish.
Yeah,
if I can say that. Just attacking and getting that title match, and of course, anything can happen there. That's just a thought. It's fantasy. It's fantasy booking right now.
Yep.
But anybody that faces Cody has to be, in my opinion, they have to be a heel. So everybody I just named that's not a heel, they have to turn in order to be viable to be in that spot. It's not the first time this has happened. This happens like on a pretty often. People who you didn't even think would be turning, they didn't give you enough time to even see it happen. It was like kind of almost sudden. For example, from NXT, Fallon Henley. There wasn't any time for that. That was probably the fastest heel turn in history. A half an episode.
Yep.
And she was already a full-blown heel. So why can't that happen to a Montez Ford? Honestly, it might not go well with the fans. It may not go well with the merch. Like Big Mike said last week, Dawkins probably the better idea for a heel, but it could happen.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, even last, I feel like I think he's better in that spot. Being especially with the whole Almighty name, I think he's better as the heel. And if all those guys turn with him, that's a serious situation that Cody ain't got no backup to even help him handle. You know what I'm saying? So that's I think Bobby deserves another world title shot. Personally, that's just my personal opinion. But I like Lashley as a heel in that spot. But we'll see what goes on. We already hit the hour mark already, so we have some fun with that fantasy booking out here and everything. But before we close out, I want to get you guys to tell everybody where they can find you on social media, so they can follow you and follow you guys, promote the show, and you're excited about it, and your friends and family are excited about it too. But how can they find you guys to follow you at YouTube channels? What do you got going on?
Go ahead, Mike.
Plain and simple, Air Raid Mike, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. Follow me on there at Air Raid Mike. I'm, of course, also host the Air Raid Attack podcast. You can follow that on YouTube, Air Raid Attack Podcast. Simply search for the podcast. And then on Twitter, at Air Raid Podcast. Definitely subscribe on YouTube. Follow me and the show on Twitter. We're very active, so definitely keep an eye out because we got content coming that way. So if you love college football or football in general, this is your time to jump on board. It's going to be a hot one coming down the road. So that's where you can follow me at.
Yes, sir. At underscore Big Mike 27 on pretty much all socials, I believe. I think I've changed it all to kind of be in line. You can catch me back here, hopefully as soon as possible in the next Thursday night triple threat episode. We've mentioned Herb and Raj, seen them in the comments. You be sure to tune into their YouTube channel. Not this coming Tuesday, but next Tuesday, 11th, you will see this face again as a guest host. I kind of like to joke around like it's the Herb and Raj podcast. I'm kind of like the Spinderella of the group. I'm the N part. So I'm the N of Herb and Raj. So, that's one of the many names I go by. So you can check me out on there as well.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us on a Thursday night triple threat. It was fun as always. We got about over 100 folks that were watching the episode today. So we are so grateful for you guys joining us. Follow everybody on the YouTube channel and on X. Keep watching wrestling. Let's keep talking about it. There's some posts coming from all of our accounts. Maybe as soon as tonight, we have more details and more information on how to follow us and what we like about wrestling, what we love about wrestling. Love to hear your thoughts on that. Aside from that, guys, we're signing off. Got some more comments to close out. And, well, look at this. Nothing simple about Mike. All right. I know that's right. That Mike.
I was about to say, which one are we talking about here?
I think they're talking about you, Aaron. All right, now we sign off. Have a great night, guys. Enjoy the music. We out.